Good afternoon, students of Chinese YMCA Secondary School. We are now going to play you the news clip from yesterday.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam today issued a report on some of her administration's accomplishments during its first 100 days in office. As Rachel Leung reports, this comes one day ahead of Lam's maiden policy address.
Here it is, a copy of Carrie Lam's maiden policy address. But it's only the cover that we were able to see this morning. The rest will be released tomorrow. The full text of the speech contains almost 300 paragraphs, and reading it out in its entirety will probably take over 4 hours. Lam is expected to spend about an hour tomorrow presenting only a digest of the speech to legislators. This break from tradition was suggested by members of her governing team.
I thought this was a very good idea, and I was quite used to talking directly with people. So I have decided to accept this piece of advice. So tomorrow in the Legislative Council chamber, I will not be reading the policy address text, but instead I will deliver a statement to introduce my first policy address.
But that doesn't mean she will skim over details.
Instead of reading word by word a very lengthy policy address, that I should instead use this occasion to talk to the people of Hong Kong about my philosophy. I stand ready to explain thereafter all the proposals and initiatives in the policy address. That's why I have extended the duration for the press conference, so that journalists will have more time to ask me questions about the policy address.
Lam also revealed that a two-tier profits tax system aimed at easing the burden of small businesses, as well as plans to revamp the government's central policy unit, will be featured in her speech. Ahead of her speech tomorrow, the CE issued a list of accomplishments in her administration's first 100 days in office. Among them, the allocation of $3.6 billion in extra recurrent funding for education and the completion of a review of statutory paternity leave. The 12-page document also attached importance to reaching out to the community, highlighting that Lam's administration has conducted more than 50 district visits and discussion sessions with district council members. Rachel Leung, TVB News.
And Carrie Lam's maiden policy address will be broadcast live on TVB Pearl starting at 11 a.m. tomorrow.
The Land Supply Task Force acknowledged today that brownfield sites identified for development should not be categorized as idle land.
We have basically identified 4 major blocks of concentrated brownfields. And this amounts to about 540 hectares of brownfield. I think the major challenge being that at the moment there are economic contributions on this brownfield with multiple number of brownfield operators operating on a day-to-day basis.
Stanley Wong said economic activities provide support to different aspects of the local economy, including logistics and storage services. Even if these brownfield sites will be developed for other uses, it'll be necessary to allocate other lands to support these economic activities.
Taiwan's leader today pledged to defend the island's freedoms and democratic system amid heightened tensions with Beijing. But Tsai Ing-wen also insisted Taiwan would continue to extend goodwill to the mainland as the island marked the double 10th day with celebrations in Taipei. Jeff Tang reports.
Drummers from the Taiwan Police College kicked off the double 10th day celebrations at the Presidential Office building in Taipei. They were followed by military band marches and skill demonstrations by the island's armed forces, and that included for the first time a flyover by the Army's fleet of Apache attack helicopters. Then the island's leader, Tsai Ing-wen, who also chairs the pro-independence Democratic Progressive Party, gave her double 10th address, her second since taking the presidential office in May last year. Tsai repeated her position that Taiwan would neither buckle under Beijing's pressure nor go down an adversarial path. We remain committed to maintaining peace and stability both in the Taiwan Strait and across the region, she said. Meanwhile, we will continue to safeguard Taiwan's freedom, democracy and way of life, as well as ensure the Taiwanese people's right to decide our own future, she added. Tsai also thanked her predecessors, including nationalist Ma Ying-jeou, for their contributions at different stages of Taiwan's pursuit of freedom. Taiwan's other living former leaders, Lee Teng-hui and Chen Shui-bian, who was now on medical parole after serving part of his prison term for corruption during his presidency, were also invited but did not attend. Tsai's remarks came just days before Beijing holds its 5-yearly Communist Party Congress. Beijing has cut off ties with Tsai's government shortly after her inauguration in May last year and has refused to renew contact until she endorses Beijing's view that Taiwan is part of China. Jeff Tang, TVB News.
North Korea marked the 72nd anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party in the capital, Pyongyang. Crowds laid flowers and bowed in front of statues and portraits of the ruling party's founder, Kim Il-sung, as well as his son, Kim Jong-il, the father and predecessor of the current leader, Kim Jong-un. This show of loyalty and respect is routine on major anniversaries and holidays in North Korea, and it's often organized by work units or other social groups. There were concerns Pyongyang could mark the days leading up to the celebrations with some sort of provocation, such as another long-range missile test.
A massive state of emergency is underway in Northern California, where wildfires are raging through the famous wine country. As tens of thousands of residents were evacuated to safety, the fires have killed at least 10 people so far. The National Guard has been mobilized to help thousands of firefighters battle flames on the front lines. The largest blazes are in Napa and Sonoma counties, home to dozens of wineries that attract tourists from around the world. The first blazes erupted simultaneously on Sunday night.
This is my neighborhood in flames.
Now, at least 15 major fires are burning in 8 counties. First, 200 acres were destroyed. Now, 73,000 acres have been singed. That's because strong winds are fanning the flames and making it nearly impossible for firefighters to seize control. At least 1,500 homes and businesses have been destroyed. Firefighters say they're doing everything they can to save as many homes as possible.
Our primary objective is structural protection and just trying to stop the spread of the fire into the adjacent houses.
One woman watched as she said her entire life just went up in flames.
I'm in shock because this is your life right here.
Among the 20,000 residents forced to evacuate, many say they were given only minutes to flee for their lives.
I drew my blinds and I just saw flames all up on the hill behind my house. So of course I panicked. I'm still shaking. Went out and they were screaming, fire, 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 get out, get out.
Authorities say they had to use helicopters to help rescue those trapped. Sheer horror gripped the wine country's largest city, Santa Rosa. That's where 2 hospitals had to rush to evacuate patients. One saved 130 patients by transporting them through flame and smoke-ridden streets.
Hell on earth. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it.
The cause of what started Sunday's fire is under investigation. This, as many people are just thankful they got out alive. A 19-year-old student in Texas has been arrested for fatally shooting a Texas Tech University police officer. Campus police were inspecting the male student's room when they found drugs. While questioning him, the student pulled out a gun and shot an officer before fleeing on foot. That's when Texas Tech was placed on lockdown. 2 hours later, Hollis Daniels was tackled by an officer and arrested. Authorities plan to charge him with murder.